we want? A LaSalle Street tax. And when do we want it?
Now.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. So I wanted to welcome everyone to our LaSalle Street Tax Campaign press conference. My name is Sheila Garland, SHEILAHGARLAND. I'm with National Nurses United and the LaSalle Street Tax Campaign. Can you guys hear me back there? Yes. Okay. Why are we here today? We're here because the people of this state deserve a budget with sufficient progressive revenue to restore and enhance human and social services. We're here to demand that the 1% of this state, that is LaSalle Street, pay their fair share of taxes. Governor Rauner has made so many cuts to our public and human services that without a huge infusion of new revenue, this state will never be the same. Cuts are not the solution when there is money in this state to create enough revenue to have a completely different conversation. If cuts aren't the solution, then what is? It's not that there isn't enough money in Illinois, it's that the money is in the wrong pockets. We are in a crisis of revenue, not a crisis caused by spending. There's a simple solution to this crisis, and we can raise the revenue that we need by passing the LaSalle Street tax. So even though it's a tiny tax, economists estimate that it would raise between 10 to 12 billion per year for the state of Illinois. That's a lot of money. It would completely change the financial picture and could result in thousands of jobs, funding for health care, rebuilding our infrastructure, create green jobs, restore and fully fund public education, as well as fully fund public universities and colleges. We can have an entirely different task ahead of us if we look to where the money is. So this is what we're going to talk about today at this press conference. This is what we'll be arguing for when we head inside after this press conference for the joint hearing of the House Revenue and Finance Committee and the Senate Revenue Committee at 2. So for our first speaker today, I'd like to invite Antonio Davis. He's with the Alliance of Community Services. He's an executive board member of AFSCME Local 2806 to join me at the podium. Thank you, Antonio.
Yeah. Good morning, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Antonio Davis. I am a caseworker in the Illinois Department of Human Services and an officer of the AFSCME Local 2806. I am speaking on behalf of my union and Alliance for Community Service and coalition working to put the human back in human services.
Well, all right.
Like so many of my coworkers, I do this work not just for the pay, but because I want to help people. As a frontline public employee, I'm the person trying to provide crisis services and benefits to the people of the state, but that is becoming more problematic. From shortage of staff, in which the Illinois has the lowest number of public employees per capita in the country, to administration pushing a assembly line processing offices while closing others, to the excessive weight of many of our customers in our local offices. I have personally seen customers waiting 2 to 3 hours just to be told to drop off documentation and that they will not be seen. This is an unnecessary process when there's a viable option to address this, the LaSalle Street tax.
That's right.
It's one of the many ways we can fairly raise the revenue to give the people of Illinois the services they deserve. Every cut to Medicaid and home care is a choice to protect billionaires and hedge funds and bankers, which does not represent Illinois people on a whole. They talk about tough choices, but let's be clear. Attacking the vulnerable is an easy choice. They would rather let the poor people suffer, let schools close, let bridges fall apart, and force the middle class to disappear than make the truly tough decision, which is to stand up to the billionaires.
That's right.
Let's end the attack on the poor and the working people. Pass a LaSalle Street tax. Put human need before corporate greed.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Antonio. So next I'd like to invite Michael Brunson with the Chicago Teachers Union to give us a few words. Thank you, Michael.
A few words. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Brunson. I am one of the officers of Chicago Teachers Union. I am the recording secretary. This morning as I was on my way into my office, I heard someone recount what the governor said about our schools in Chicago. He called them crumbling prisons. Now, that is not a very cheering assessment from someone that should be helping to fund our school system. Let me tell you something. Every time you see a heinous crime that occurs in this city, and they show you who committed the crime, somewhere there is a teacher that said, that kid was in my classroom. We come in contact with everyone. And if we're going to get a grip on the rising tide of crime in this city, we need to support our public school system. We need to support our public services. We need to support our communities. We have a plan. We would like to start with Chicago Public Schools having restorative justice programs, because so much of this violence that originates in this city, and I know they blame it on the gangs and they blame it on the drugs, it's interpersonal violence. You have young people that just don't get along. We need to focus more on social relationships in these classrooms than trying to test our students to death and just place them in front of a computer. We need to bring the adults back into our schools. We need to have our students interact. We need to have art, music, physical education, all of the things that we need to create a whole student, a whole human being. We need to bring them back, and we need revenue for that. And we are not going to get revenue from red light cameras, stoplight cameras, fees, fines, and court costs. We can't go that route anymore. We've gotten all we can get from that. We need a financial transaction tax. There's too much money flying through the Chicago Mercantile Exchange untaxed. People talk about shared sacrifice. This is shared sacrifice. Tax that money. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Michael. Next, we're going to ask Howard Horace. He's a leader in Ferry County, Illinois, and he's going to give us a few words. Thank you, Howard. Speaking to the mic.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Horace Howard, Horace, and I'm a leader, a humble leader, with Fair Economy, Illinois. I suffer from a dual diagnosis of mental illness and drug and alcohol addiction. I was homeless over 15 years. But with the help of state-funded programs, I received subsidized housing, treatment for my mental illness, and my drug addiction. And I'm proud to say I've been sober for 1 year. This new stability has allowed me to volunteer and be active with my community, and I was just accepted into graduate school at Governor State University. The budget crisis in Illinois has reduced these services in significant ways. Budget cuts to mental health services interrupted my long-standing relationship with my psychiatrist and my therapist, and has led to a significant reduction in psychiatry services that are available to people who need them. The drug addiction program that I once went to through Lutheran Social Services in Illinois is now closed. And finally, I'm trying to get my graduate degree, but the budget impasse threatens my educational goals. We need a LaSalle Street tax. Just the other day, I was reviewing the budget forecast for the state of Illinois, and I seen where the individual income tax raised $15 billion in 2015. However, the corporations raised only $2 billion. That's atrocious. That's stick up without a gun. Because the financial sector needs to pay their fair share towards investing in the common good, what's occurring is the corporations, their profits are going overseas. The financial sector, securities, currency, they're going overseas. And they're being secured by our military capabilities in America. That's un-American. We could raise billions of dollars, 12 to 15, as said previously, with a small tax on financial trades to invest in programs to bring stability for Illinoisans like me.
That's right.
It's un-American to hoard money in private coffers when it comes at the expense of everyone else. When LaSalle Street traders don't pay a tax on their trading, it falls to the low and middle income families in the state of Illinois to pick up the tab. It's time for a LaSalle Street tax, and it's time for a LaSalle Street tax now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Horace. I have just a little small excerpt from Michael Kerrigan, who is the head of the Illinois AFL-CIO in support of the LaSalle Street tax. He wasn't able to join us here today, but I'm just going to read a little bit of it. He says that Illinois operates two of the largest financial markets in the world, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. Each year, the trades that occur in these markets exceed $900 trillion in value. When the working people that we represent purchase items in our state, they typically pay a sales tax of 7 or 8% or more, depending on local government rates. Yet, the buyers and sellers of the derivatives traded in these markets do not pay one dime in sales tax purchases. I ask you, how is this fair? Why do the wealthy not have to pay taxes on their financial transactions, yet the working class citizens must pay all taxes? I wish to commend Representative Mary Flowers' leadership on introducing House Bill 106 and for her work on this issue over the past couple of years. The legislation proposes a $1 contract fee on all agricultural futures and futures options traded on the two exchanges in Chicago, a $2 contract fee on all other futures and future options. Average contract size at the exchanges is more than $225,000. This amounts to less to 1/1000th of a percent of average contract value. It is estimated that the revenue brought in from this simple transaction fee would be $8 to $12 billion annually. The funding generated from this simple and small transaction fee could allow full funding of social services and human service needs. It could provide a real boost for our children in Illinois, fully funding their elementary and high schools and providing them with a bright future at a fully funded state university. The state's pension funds could finally be fully funded. A capital bill with infrastructure funding could be enacted, and thousands of jobs could be created. The Illinois American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organizations, fully supports House Bill 106, and we would urge its passage in the General Assembly. This is from the AFL-CIO. Thank you so much. And so next I'd like to invite Michael Brennan, who's with the Illinois Single Payer Coalition. Michael Brennan, here you are.
Here I am.
You could come join me at the podium, speak into the mic.
Thank you, thank you. The Illinois Single Payer Coalition supports the financial transaction tax because it is fair, and fairness is the foundation of democratic government. And poll after poll show most Americans support taxes that are fair. And revenue from this tax could provide much needed funding for quality health care in Illinois, including Medicaid and health care services for people with disabilities. Uncovered health care expenses contribute hugely to poverty. Closer. But we need to make sure that any new revenues really go to fund improved services for people in need and not to pad the profits of the private managed care companies that now run half of Medicaid in Illinois. A single payer system, like an improved Medicare for all ages, would cut much waste from the current system of for-profit healthcare financing. And no more would our people need to feel the stress and fear of sickness-related financial ruin or untreated illness. The financial transaction tax could greatly help fund all needed healthcare for all Illinoisans. After a transition period, a single-payer system would enable the state to cut per capita healthcare expenditures while providing high-quality coverage for all Illinoisans. ISPC members believe that the single-payer system that we advocate must be built on fairly raised revenue. That is why we support the financial transaction tax. Healthcare is our human right. The financial transaction tax is one substantial and likely very popular way to help guarantee this right. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Before I invite our last speaker, I wanted to acknowledge Will Guzzardi, who is a state representative. Will Guzzardi, say hi, who's in support of the South Street tax. And I'd also like to recognize Omar Aquino, who is going to be seated in the Senate in Delgado's seat, hopefully later this year or maybe next year, who is also in support of the South Street tax. So we really appreciate, there are other legislators that are supportive, but these two were able to join us today, and so we wanted to acknowledge them. So for our final speaker, I'd like to invite Linda Jennings. She's a registered nurse, retired from the University of Chicago Medical Center, and a member of National Nurses United, to join me at the podium. Speak into the mic. Okay, thank you, Linda.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Linda Jennings, Linda Jennings. I am a registered nurse, retired from the University of Chicago Medical Center, and a member of National Nurses United. I believe that it's time for nurses to step up, to speak up, and to stand up. I am so proud to be standing here with all of you today in support of a tax on LaSalle to generate the revenue that we need to save people of our state from economic despair. I grew up in Chicago and live on the South Side, and I am very concerned about the future that my 8th grade grandson faces in this city and in this state of Illinois. I believe if we continue on allowing rich and corporations to avoid paying their fair share while continuing to cut the programs to give people a way out of poverty that could generate anywhere between $10 to $12 billion annually for Illinois. With the amount of revenue, we could secure the future of all our children. Yes. Now is the time. HB 106 is the bill. With the revenue generated from this small tax on risky, high-frequency trading, we could reopen and enhance shuttered social and human services, rebuild public education, create green jobs, and more. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Linda. This concludes our press event. We will take questions from the media if you have such. Yes. Michael Brunson, we have a question for you. Okay.
Yes.
Spell your last name.
Brunson, B-R-U-N-S-O-N. The question was about the recent resignation of quite a few CPS principals. What can I say? CPS is in chaos. But this is, and the budget has a lot to do with it. But I want to keep bringing the focus back to the fact that we do need a financial transaction tax in this state, because there are a lot of good ideas out there. But as far as bringing in over $10 billion, this is a mother lode right here. So this is what it's about. Yes.
Would you react to those who say, put this tax in place and LaSalle Street will leave?
There's no reason for LaSalle Street to leave. This is not a tax on the CME. It is a tax on the traders. It's just like saying that a grocery store is going to leave just because they have to collect the tax on a loaf of bread. All we're asking them to do is collect the tax. That's all.
Today, the governor doubled down on his comments about the prisons, schools, comparing them to prisons. He says that he nearly cries when he sees the metal doors, the metal detectors, they're dark, they're dank. Can you react again to that, to the prison comment, comparing schools to prisons?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the tears are crocodile tears. And if our governor is so concerned about the state of our schools, he can put his money where his mouth is. And fund it. We got more. You want to come back up and address that?
I mean, I think that we have to, this is a building point. Obviously, we've been speaking to representatives in Springfield. There are those representatives who are interested. Part of the process today is for them to learn more about this bill, to get the real information about it from people who have done a tremendous amount of research. And I also think that there's the fear, the threat that you have asked about. But I think that we need to get our representatives to act on behalf of the people of the state. And if they act on behalf of the people of the state, they cannot go wrong.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions from media? Okay, well then this concludes the press event. And everybody that's here, who's gonna go to the hearing. It's on the 6th floor. You will need identification in order to get inside. All of your signs will be collected because you cannot bring them inside, okay? Thank you, everybody.